The sun punished the training ground as words tore through the air like shrapnel. "Driver error!" Instructor Wells's voice reverberated through the field, amplified by the sudden silence of the other 27 candidates. Marcus Jennings remained motionless, his right hand still raised on the interrupted command. Beside him, Zeus, the 3-year-old German shepherd, swayed slightly, confused by his partner's sudden hesitation. "The dog didn't fail, Jennings. You failed." The instructor moved forward, his boots marking the rhythm of humiliation on the parched ground. "This is the 3rd time today. Maybe K9 isn't for everyone, is it?" The looks of the other candidates weighed like lead on Marcus's back. A contained smile here, a whisper there. The only woman in the group averted her eyes, sharing the discomfort of others. Marcus gulped, his navy metal pressed against his chest underneath his uniform, invisible to others, but pulsating against his skin like an open wound. "Start over from the basics, Jennings, while their colleagues move towards advanced tracking." Marcus nodded, his face a stone mask. Only his eyes, fixed on a distant point beyond the field, revealed the storm within. Zeus felt it. Dogs always do. He pressed his snout against Marcus's palm, an almost imperceptible gesture of loyalty. "Have you ever been publicly humiliated while trying to prove your worth? Have you ever felt the crushing weight of the looks that wait, almost anxiously, for your failure?" 7 minutes later, no one on the training ground would dare to look Marcus Jennings in the eye. The state police's K9 certification program was known for its methodological brutality. Out of 50 initial candidates, only 20 would continue with their dogs after 8 weeks. The instructors weren't there to make friends. They were there to break fragile partnerships before lives depended on them on the streets. "Do you think Jennings will last until Friday?" The question came from Peterson, a former military man from Nebraska, over lunch. "I bet 20 he'll quit tomorrow." 30, that's today," Rivera replied, biting into his sandwich. "Did you see Wells's face? He's been marking the guy since day 1. Marcus ate alone, 3 tables ahead. He listened to every word, Zeus lying next to him, alert, even at rest. It was not the first hostile training ground for Marcus. It certainly wouldn't be the last. What none of the others knew, Marcus Jennings hadn't slept in the last 3 nights. Not because of the pressure of training, not because of the looks, not because of the comments. Zeus had a subtle lameness in his right front leg, imperceptible to less attentive eyes. Marcus had spent his nights applying compresses and massaging the inflamed tissue, speaking softly to his partner while the others snored in their bunks. That was the real challenge. An injured dog, a test the next morning, a partnership publicly questioned. On the course, the obstacle course awaited after lunch. The sun blazing made the metal of the equipment almost untouchable. Marcus watched the others complete the circuit. Reasonable times, average commands, nothing extraordinary. "Jennings, you and that dog, now!" Marcus stood up. He took a deep breath. Zeus looked up, attentive, devoted, completely ignoring the discomfort in his paw, an absolute confidence in amber eyes. "Let's show them," Marcus whispered, so low that only Zeus could hear. "In your place, would you retreat before the audience already prepared for your failure? Or would you move forward, even against all odds?" The obstacle course seemed endless under that merciless sun. 17 stations, each requiring absolute precision between man and animal. Zeus' paw could fail any of them. Instructor Wells positioned himself strategically at the midpoint of the course, stopwatch in hand, relentless gaze. "Is your dog limping, Jennings?" The question came loaded with contempt, not concern. "No, sir." The answer came out firm. "Then why are you hesitating? Time starting now." The first obstacles flowed like water. Marcus and Zeus moved in perfect synchrony, ramp, tunnel, low heel. The audience of colleagues watched in silence. Nothing spectacular yet, just basic competence. It was at the 12th obstacle, the 2.7-meter vertical climb, that Zeus first hesitated. A micro-movement of protection of the right paw, imperceptible to almost everyone, except Wells. "Hesitation, that's going to cost you points, Jennings." Marcus didn't answer. He knelt quickly next to Zeus, whispering something that no one could hear. His fingers briefly touched the badge sewn into the side of his own uniform. a symbol of the Navy's K-9 rescue unit that had served in Afghanistan, the badge that no one in that camp knew how to recognize. The memories slid like a cold blade. The cave complex in the Nangarhar Mountains, 3 soldiers missing. Zeus, then only 18 months old, moved on when all the other dogs retreated before the unstable terrain and thin air. The suffocating darkness, the silence that preceded every critical decision. The same silence that now enveloped Marcus as he slowly stood up, staring at the obstacle ahead, not the vertical wall, but the much higher wall of collective expectation of his failure. A technical obstacle, a hidden pain, a past that no one knew. Marcus took a deep breath, establishing that ritualistic silence that preceded his most important decisions. Zeus, sensing the change, fixed all his attention on his partner. And then came the command, different, in a lower tone, in a language that none of those present recognized. The command slid from Marcus's lips like an ancient prayer, soft, precise, in Pashto, the language he had used with Zeus during his missions in Afghanistan. Just one word, loaded with shared history. Zeus transformed. Hesitation evaporated like dew under the inclement sun. The animal darted toward the vertical wall, not like a police dog in training, but like the experienced warrior it once was. Its paws found support where there seemed to be none. Your body, a calculated fluidity of muscle and purpose. At the top of the wall, Zeus stopped. Balanced precariously, he looked back at his partner, waiting. The candidates were speechless. Wells frowned. Marcus, motionless on the ground, raised 2 fingers in an almost imperceptible movement. Zeus responded instantly, descending down the opposite side of the wall with an economy of movement that spoke of years, not weeks, of working together. "What the hell was that?" muttered Peterson. The rest of the route turned into a silent demonstration, not from a rookie trying to prove his worth, but from a veteran revealing just enough of his true nature. Every command was minimal. Every response, immediate. The language between them transcended standard training. "Time!" Wells screamed as they crossed the end line. The stopwatch showed 1:47, 30 seconds faster than the best time of the day. Wells looked at the device, then at the duo. Marcus kept his eyes fixed in front of him, Zeus sitting perfectly next to him, his breathing controlled despite the effort. "Beginner's luck," someone said, breaking the uncomfortable silence. Marcus finally allowed himself to look at Wells, not with challenge, not with triumph, only with the silent certainty of someone who carries many storms on his back and has learned to stay dry. Wells held his gaze for a long moment before turning to the drawing board. Next exercise, all to the South Camp in 5 minutes. As the group dispersed, Marcus knelt again beside Zeus, carefully examining the troublesome paw away from prying eyes. The real challenge had only just begun. He cheated. Peterson didn't even wait for them to arrive at the South Camp to share their conclusion. He must have trained this circuit before. There is no other explanation. Rivera shook his head. "You saw the dog. You don't rehearse that in one night." The group fragmented into small conversation circles. Marcus walked alone, 20 paces ahead, Zeus standing faithfully by his side. The distance was not accidental. It rarely is between those accustomed to being the first observed and the last accepted. In the southern field, Sergeant Donovan was waiting. Unlike Wells, Donovan was known for his brutal impartiality. No favorites, no scapegoats, just impossibly high standards applied to everyone equally. Today, explosive detection, simulated urban scenario, multiple targets, multiple distractions. His voice cut through the hot afternoon air. "You will have 8 minutes to locate as many devices as you can. Below 3, consider yourself a failure." Donovan's eyes swept over the group, lingering momentarily on Marcus. "Jennings, you start." A murmur ran through the group. Always the same procedure. The best last, the weakest first, to establish the minimum base. Marcus advanced without hesitation. Zeus followed, his limping now barely perceptible except to eyes that knew every nuance of his movement. The simulated urban scenario was a maze of false walls, abandoned vehicles, calculatedly arranged rubble. Time begins. Now. Again, that silence. Marcus closed his eyes for a full 2 seconds, an eternity under the pressure of the stopwatch. When it reopened them, something had changed. Your posture, your focus, the very quality of your presence. "Search," he commanded, in English this time. Zeus darted ahead, methodically following a pattern of search that wasn't taught in the K9 core course. Peterson poked Rivera. "Look at the search pattern. This is not the state protocol." By 4 minutes, Zeus had located 4 devices. At 6 minutes, 6 devices. Its passive cue, to sit and fix one's gaze on the target, was so precise that it seemed choreographed. The mocking silence of the group turned into something denser, heavier. The kind of silence that accompanies the grudging acknowledgement of undeniable competence. When the whistle sounded, marking the 8 minutes, Zeus had located 9 devices. The course record was 7. Donovan examined his clipboard, his face an impenetrable mask. 9 locations, 9 confirmed positives. He paused almost imperceptibly. "Good job, team." It was the first time anyone had referred to Marcus and Zeus as a team since the beginning of training. Have you ever noticed the exact moment when grudging respect replaces contempt in the eyes of those who expected your failure? One moment, Jennings. Instructor Wells's voice cut through the air as the group prepared to move on to the next exercise. Extraordinary detection. Almost unbelievable. The praise carried the weight of an accusation. Marcus remained impassive, Zeus sitting perfectly next to him, eyes fixed ahead. "Sergeant Donovan, do you mind if I propose a adjustment in the protocol?" Donovan frowned. "What kind of adjustment, Wells?" "A validation." Wells smiled, a gesture that didn't reach his eyes. "Non-standard devices, something to test the game, versatility of the team." The whole group felt the change in the atmosphere. That wasn't on the program. That was personal. 15 minutes. Let me prepare something special. As Wells walked away, Marcus felt the weight of the gazes on him. No more contemptuous, no more mocking. Now loaded with an uncomfortable curiosity, with unformulated questions. Rivera approached, hesitant. "He's targeting you, man. This is not normal." Marcus just nodded, kneeling down to check Zeus's pause. The inflammation worsened. The extraordinary effort of the last exercise had taken its toll. Zeus looked at him with those amber eyes that had seen the worst of humanity in distant lands, and yet maintained an unwavering loyalty. "We're fine," Marcus muttered, more to himself than to Rivera. 15 minutes later, Wells returned with a sealed box. "An adapted challenge," he announced, a dangerous twinkle in his eye. "Jennings, your dog found all the standard explosives from the workout. Let's see how he does with substances that are not part of the core curriculum." Donovan intervened. "Wells, that's out of protocol. It's just an additional test, Sergeant. To satisfy my professional curiosity." Wells faced Marcus directly. "Unless there's some reason to avoid it?" The challenge hung in the air, heavy as lead. Marcus knew exactly what was going on. The game had changed. It was no longer about completing training, but about exposing something. Wells suspected something. "No objection, sir." Marcus's voice remained neutral, controlled. Wells scattered 5 small sealed containers across the field in partially hidden locations. 5 samples, 3 minutes. Let's see what this dog is really worth. Marcus took a deep breath. Zeus felt the tense, rippling muscles under the fur, attentive to the slightest sign. And then came that ritual silence, the moment of centering that preceded each critical mission in your previous lives. "Search," Marcus commanded, his voice low and sure. Zeus advanced, methodically, as always. First container, scored positive. Second container, completely ignored. Third, scored positive. Fourth, he hesitated, then scored. Fifth, went straight through. "Time," Wells smiled. "We will check the results." The first container opened. Modified C4, correct. He opened the second. Common gunpowder. It is not a high-grade explosive. The dog was right to ignore it. Third container. P10, correct again. Fourth container. Wells stopped, his smile faltering slightly. Nitroglycerin in low concentration. Technically correct, although it is a false positive in some protocols. Fifth container. Common fertilizer, non-explosive, rightly ignored. The silence that followed was deafening. Even Donovan looked astonished. 4 out of 5 perfectly identified, including discrimination between similar substances. His voice carried a grudging respect. That's not basic state police training, Jennings. Marcus kept his eyes fixed on the horizon. No, sir. It's not. The afternoon wore on, the sun descending toward the distant mountains, painting the training ground with elongated shadows. The group had dispersed to a 30-minute break before the final exercise of the day. Marcus sat alone, his back against a lonely tree, Zeus lying next to him. The memory came without invitation, as always. Kandahar, 2018. The train, the ambush, the IED that none of the military dogs detected, except Zeus, then only 14 months old, still in training. The commander who ignored the passive indication of the young dog. The deafening sound that followed. Marcus closed his eyes, his hand automatically reaching for the small piece of metal he carried in his pocket, a fragment of the destroyed vehicle. 7 lives lost that day. 7 lives that could have been saved if someone had trusted the unreliable dog. Can I? The female voice interrupted her thoughts. Marcus opened his eyes. Chen, the only woman in the group, stood a few steps away, her own dog, a black Labrador, sitting disciplinedly beside her. Of course. Chen sat down, keeping a respectful distance. You're not a rookie, are you? Marcus didn't answer immediately, his fingers continuing to spin the metal fragment in his pocket. What makes you think that? The way you and your dog communicate. It's not something you learn in 8 weeks of basic training. Chen observed Zeus, who kept his eyes alert despite the apparent rest. And that command in Pashto. Silence extended between them. Navy K-9 unit. 3 shifts in Afghanistan, 1 in Iraq. Marcus finally answered, the words coming out with difficulty like water from a stone. Zeus and I, 4 years together. So why? Chen left the question incomplete, but its meaning was clear. Why was an elite veteran undergoing basic state police training? Why allow disrespect, testing, humiliation? Marcus watched the horizon, the weight of past decisions compressing his chest. Zeus is 6 years old now, considered too old for high-intensity operations by military standards. His voice hardened slightly. They wanted to retire him, assign him to a foster family. Chen understood immediately. Separation, the greatest fear of any K-9 driver who has formed a true bond. So you went out with him. Honorable discharge, and a promise. Where I go, he goes. Marcus finally looked directly at Chen. The state program was the only one that accepted an old dog. The silence that followed carried a new weight, the recognition of the depth of the bond, of the sacrifice made not out of duty or career, but out of loyalty to a partner who could not understand human agreements, only the presence or absence of its handler. Wells will find out eventually, Chen commented softly. Probably, but until then, we will have our certification. Marcus looked at the horizon again. All we need is to complete the training. We don't need to impress anyone. Chen nodded, understanding the unsaid. Marcus wasn't there to prove anything, except that Zeus was still capable. He was still valuable. He still deserved to serve alongside his human partner. The last exercise today is night tracking, Chen informed, standing up. Wells will be supervising. Marcus just nodded, feeling the weight of the metal in his pocket and the much greater weight of the decision he had made. A military career ended, an uncertain future, all because of a silent promise made to a partner who had saved her life more times than she could count. Have you ever sacrificed something valuable? A career, an opportunity, a dream, for loyalty to something that others would consider less important? Night fell over the training ground like a heavy blanket. Dense clouds obscured the stars, making the darkness almost absolute. Tactical flashlights created islands of visibility as the group assembled for the final exercise, tracking in harsh conditions. Perfect conditions for a real test, Wells announced, his face partially obscured by shadows. Crosswind, low humidity, 0 visibility. Just the kind of night when people get lost, or try not to be found. The tension was palpable. This would not be a demonstration exercise. It would be a test of real capability. Each team would have 20 minutes to locate a fugitive in the forest area adjacent to the training ground. Chen, you start. then Peterson, Rivera, and lastly, Jennings. Wells made no effort to hide the emphasis on the last name. Marcus watched the first team set out for the test. Chen returned at 16 minutes, his Labrador having followed the trail with admirable precision. Peterson failed. His dog lost track after 200 meters. Rivera completed the course in the 18th minute. By the time it was Marcus's turn, the wind had picked up significantly. Cold gusts swept across the field, carrying the odor in unpredictable directions, fragmenting the trail left by the extra. "Conditions getting worse, Jennings," Wells commented, barely containing his satisfaction. "I doubt that even an experienced dog will be able to follow this trail now." Marcus ignored the comment, kneeling next to Zeus for a moment of connection before the start. His fingers gently examined the inflamed paw, which had worsened considerably after the day's exercises. "We don't need to impress anyone," he whispered, only for his partner to hear. "Just do enough." As he stood up, however, his eyes met Chen's in the darkness. In that brief glance, a silent message was transmitted. It was no longer just him and Zeus. There was something bigger at stake. The message his performance would send to all doubters, not just of a man and his dog, but of who might truly belong in that world. "There, sir," Marcus announced, his decision made. Wells checked the stopwatch. 20 minutes, Jennings. Time begins. Now." Marcus guided Zeus to the starting point where the extra had begun his escape. Instead of the standard search command, though, he knelt down again. He cupped his hands around Zeus's ears and spoke. Not a command, but a series of them, almost a conversation, in a voice too low for any observer to hear. Zeus fixed his eyes on his partners, completely motionless, except for the almost imperceptible trembling of anticipation that ran through his body. And then, that ritual silence, the moment of absolute concentration. Marcus stood up and made a single gesture, a circular motion with his right hand, followed by a command that no one in the group had heard before. Zeus turned into a moving shadow. He did not follow the trail in the traditional way, nose glued to the ground. Instead, he began to perform an increasing spiral pattern, capturing fragments of odor in the erratic wind, building a mental map of dispersal. "What the hell is he doing?" Wells asked, frowning. Donovan, who had been watching in silence until then, replied calmly, "Adaptive air tracking. Extreme environment technique." After 3 minutes of methodical analysis, Zeus suddenly fixed a direction. Marcus followed, not running, but maintaining a steady, measured pace that respected both the darkness and the condition of Zeus's paw. The wind increased even more, now bringing the first drops of an imminent rain. Perfect conditions had become almost impossible. At 10 minutes, they had disappeared into the darkness of the forest. At 15, there was no sign of return. "Maybe they got lost," Peterson said, with less malice now, more genuine concern. In the 18th minute, still nothing. Wells checked the stopwatch repeatedly. 2 minutes, and we consider that a failure. At 19 minutes and 20 seconds, a movement arose at the edge of the forest. Marcus emerged calmly, Zeus at his side. They weren't running. There was no urgency in his steps, and among them, leaning on Marcus's shoulders, was the extra, a middle-aged man whose expression showed both surprise and admiration. "What happened?" Wells demanded. The extra answered before Marcus could. "I sprained my ankle on the rocks near the stream. I was about to use the emergency radio when they found me." He looked at Zeus with unmistakable respect. "The dog located me even after I completely left the planned route." Marcus helped the man sit up, then finally stared at Wells. "Mission completed, sir. 19 minutes and 40 seconds. The silence that followed was broken only by the distant sound of thunder. The storm was finally coming, but something else had changed in the field that night. The last day of training dawned clear and cold. After 3 weeks of increasingly complex testing, only 18 of the original 27 teams remained. The final certification, the test that would determine who would receive the K9 badge, would be conducted in front of an audience of senior officers, program coordinators, and potential contracting departments. Marcus and Zeus were among the finalists, their reputations transformed over the weeks. No longer the butt of ridicule, but now the silent standard against which others measured their own performance. Rumors circulated about his past, amplified by the collective imagination, stories of covert operations, of impossible rescues. The truth, as always, was both simpler and more profound. Wells had changed his approach as well. The open antagonism had turned into a kind of grudging respect, even if it kept its distance. Donovan, on the other hand, had come to consult Marcus occasionally about advanced training techniques. The final test was a complex scenario, an abandoned 3-story building supposedly occupied by a gunman. Multiple entrances, multiple distracting odors, multiple hazards. The K-9 team would need to locate the suspect without alerting him, ensuring the safety of the subsequent entry team. The maximum time is 15 minutes, Donovan announced to the group. This is not just a test of skill, but of judgment. Speed matters, but accuracy is vital. Marcus watched Zeus, sitting perfectly next to him. The inflammation in the paw had finally subsided after weeks of constant care. His eyes met Chen's, who nodded subtly, a gesture of respect between peers. One by one, the candidates completed the test, times ranging between 10 and 15 minutes. Some routes cleaned, others with small mistakes, all competent. When it was Marcus and Zeus's turn, a different energy ran through the audience of observers. Even the senior officers, initially indifferent, adjusted themselves in their chairs. Wells approached Marcus before he entered the building. "Don't hold back this time, Jennings," he said in a low voice, only for Marcus to hear. "Show them what you two can really do." Marcus studied the face of the man who had been his antagonist for weeks. He saw something he didn't expect, a genuine request. Wells had understood, at last. This was no longer about training, about passing or failing. It was about demonstrating excellence, establish a new standard. Marcus nodded once, understanding passing silently between them. At the starting line, Marcus knelt next to Zeus, not to check equipment, not to give commands, just to share that moment, forehead against forehead, man and dog breathing in perfect synchrony. Ritual silence descended upon them like a protective cloak. The audience, the building, the other candidates, everything disappeared. There was only Marcus and Zeus, as they had been in dark caves in Afghanistan, in collapsed buildings in Iraq, in every mission they had faced together. "Let's bring everyone home," Marcus muttered, the same words he always said before every critical mission. Zeus responded with an almost imperceptible tremor of recognition. Marcus stood up and made a single gesture, not a standard command, but that particular movement that meant total trust. Zeus moved forward, not attached to the traditional leash, moving like water finding its natural way. They entered the building not as a handler and dog, but as a single entity with a shared purpose. The audience watched through strategically placed cameras. They saw Zeus pause in the entrance hall, capturing odors in various directions. They saw Marcus remain completely still, just watching, trusting. Zeus made the decision. Second floor, east wing. They moved in perfect harmony, every step measured, every pause intentional. In the second floor hallway, Zeus detected something. Her entire body froze momentarily, then adopted a completely different posture, shorter, more fluid. Marcus immediately responded, adjusting his own position. "What did they see?" whispered one of the officers, watching the screens. Donovan replied softly, "Nothing. They felt it. Change in air current. It means there's someone moving ahead." Zeus now moved forward in tactical approach mode, each step placed with absolute precision to eliminate any sound. Marcus followed, a silent shadow. As they turned down the hall, Zeus stopped abruptly. 30 meters ahead, a door ajar. The shooter had changed position, now with a partial view of the corridor. The slightest sound, the slightest detectable movement, and the exercise would end in failure. Marcus and Zeus remained perfectly still for a full 10 seconds. Any other team would have retreated, sought another route. The audience held their breath collectively. And then Marcus did something unexpected. He lay completely on the ground. Zeus immediately did the same. Together, they began to move forward in absolute silence, using a crawling approach technique that was not part of any standard police training manual. Inch by inch, they approached. When they came within 10 meters of the door, Zeus looked at Marcus, waiting. Marcus made an almost imperceptible gesture with 3 fingers. Zeus understood immediately. In a fluid and absolutely silent movement, Zeus slid into an adjacent room. Marcus remained motionless in the hallway. 3 seconds later, a dull thud came from inside the room Zeus had entered, the calculated sound of something falling. The shooter reacted exactly as expected, moved to check the sound, momentarily moving away from his vigilant position at the door. At that precise instant, Zeus emerged from behind him through an internal connection between the rooms that no one had noticed during the preparation of the exercise. No barking, no growling, just the sudden presence of 60 pounds of canine precision, strategically positioning itself to block any escape route. At the same moment, Marcus stood up and covered the distance to the door in 3 precise seconds. "K9 police! Don't move!" he announced in a firm, controlled voice. The timer stopped. 6 minutes and 12 seconds. Less than half the time of the other candidates. An approach that no instructor had taught or even imagined possible. In the command center, the silence was absolute. Wells was the first to speak, his voice carrying something rarely heard, genuine admiration. That, ladies and gentlemen, is what true K9 partnership means. The certification ceremony took place at sunset that same day. 18 teams lined up in precise formation, handlers and dogs side by side under the sky that was tinged with red and gold. An audience of family members, senior officers, and department representatives occupied the chairs arranged in a semicircle. Sergeant Donovan conducted the ceremony with the same ruthless efficiency that had characterized all training. Each team receiving its badge, each handler swearing to protect and serve, each dog receiving the official vest that symbolized its new role. Marcus and Zeus remained in the designated position, the man in impeccable posture, the dog sitting perfectly beside him. No outward sign revealed the extraordinary journey that had brought them here, from the mountains of Afghanistan to the trials of that training camp. When their names were called, they moved forward in perfect sync. Donovan pinned the badge to Marcus's uniform, then knelt down, a rare gesture of respect, to put the official vest on Zeus. "Conductor Jennings, K9 Zeus," Donovan announced, his voice carrying a tone few had heard before. "Certificates with distinguished honors." A murmur ran through the audience. Distinguished honors was not in regular protocol. It was an assignment reserved for truly exceptional circumstances. As they returned to the formation, Marcus noticed Wells standing in the shadows near the podium. The instructor gave a single nod, not a formal greeting, but an acknowledgement among equals. After the ceremony, as people dispersed into small groups of celebration, Chen approached Marcus, his own dog proudly sporting the new vest. "What's next for you two?" he asked. Marcus looked at Zeus, who was watching the horizon with that particular attention he always showed, as if he were perpetually ready for the next mission, the next challenge. "Boulder County Search and Rescue Unit," he replied, "specialization in high-risk operations and difficult terrain." Chen smiled. "They don't know how lucky they are." "Actually, they know." Marcus allowed himself a rare smile. "The head of the unit served with me in the first round in Afghanistan. He was the one who suggested the state program as a path to civil certification. A complete plan, then. A carefully mapped path not only to a certification, but to a specific continuation of the partnership that had defined their lives." Wells emerged unexpectedly next to them, now without the intimidating posture he had maintained during training. "Jennings," he began, his voice carrying an unusual hesitation. "I think I owe him an apology." Marcus stared at the man who had been his antagonist for weeks. "No, sir. You did exactly your job." Wells studied Marcus for a moment, then shook his head slightly. "No. My job is to identify excellence and cultivate it. I almost did the opposite." He held out his hand. "I learned something important by watching you two." Marcus accepted the handshake. "You were right on the first day," Marcus said quietly. "When I said the dog didn't fail, I failed." Wells frowned, confused. "I was trying to get Zeus to behave like a rookie police dog when he was already a seasoned warrior. I was denying who he really was, trying to fit us in." The understanding lit up Wells's eyes. "And when you stopped trying to fit in, we started to set new standards," Marcus concluded. Wells nodded, looking at Zeus with new respect. "The Boulder Department is going to have the best K9 team in the state." "Second best," Marcus corrected, tilting his head in the direction of Chen and his dog. It will surpass us in 6 months. Chen smiled, surprised by the unexpected compliment. As the sun finally disappeared behind the mountains, Marcus felt the weight of the new badge on his chest. It was not the same as the one I had carried in the Navy, but it represented the same fundamental promise, a partnership based on absolute trust, on mutual understanding, on respect that transcended words. Zeus looked up, meeting the eyes of his human partner. In that look was the same silent promise they had shared on every mission, at every critical moment of their intertwined lives. Where I go, you go. Together, always. Have you ever experienced that moment of deep recognition, when your abilities, your true essence, are finally seen and valued for exactly what they are, not what others expected them to be?